All right, hello, friends. Once again, happy Tuesday to everyone joining in for our Zoom Hangouts right around happy hour time. So thanks for joining us here on a Tuesday. Joined alongside Coach Butch Davis. AJ Ricketts here with you. Glad to have you with us. Butch, how are you today? What have you been up to on this another Tuesday here?
Yeah, AJ, it's good to be with you and good to be with all the FIU Panther fans that are out there listening. And it's been kind of, Tuesday's a really busy day for everybody in our program. It starts off that we have a staff meeting, which includes all the 10 full-time coaches, the 4 graduate assistants, and then all the department heads. Kevin O'Neill in the training room, Andrew Swayze with the strength and conditioning, Amanda Fernandez in the nutrition, Jed Kime, who's our director of football operations. So everybody's there, our 4 graduate assistants. So there's probably about 30 to 40 people. Isa Rosa, who runs the academic department for the football program, she's on there. And obviously finals is just about to finish. I think Thursday's the last day of final exams for all of our players. So that's usually about a 2.5-hour meeting. And then we go straight from that to Conference USA and get a chance to spend about with Merton Hanks, probably about an hour and 45 minutes. Sometimes it goes 2 hours. And then in the afternoon, we have a meeting with Pete Garcia, Julie Berg, and all of our compliance people, the administrative people. And those, are all kind of talking about, when can we get back on campus and all those kinds of things and things that the players have got to do. About coming back to school, summer school, whether it's online or whether it's actually truly going to be on classes, on campus. And so it's a busy day today.
Full speed ahead. It sounds like team meetings, staff meetings, Conference USA, and administrative as well. Staying busy here.
And then AJ, the other part of it is, AJ, is all the position coaches. They've got their Zoom meetings with all their positional players. So, Rich Skrosky's meeting with the quarterbacks, and Tim Harris is meeting with the running backs, and obviously with a lot of kids, with them still doing inline classes and stuff, you can't say, okay, I'm going to do all my positional players at one particular time. You may get 4 of them at 8 o'clock in the morning. You may not get the 3 of them until 1 o'clock, and you may at 5:30 in the afternoon get the last one. And so, it's an all-day process, just trying to make sure that our kids are staying on track, on offense and defense. The one thing that we have kind of tried to do is we've tried to narrow down to the top 30 to 35 players that we think are going to be major players on special teams.
Yeah.
And with DJ McCarthy, we have 2 special teams meetings a week. We do a Monday morning meeting at 10 o'clock, and then we do it again on Thursday. And that way we have a really, we don't like not negate anything. We want to make sure that everything that we're going to have to do in place of spring practice or any of those kind of meetings, that we're covering that right now.
I think that's interesting. It's not just looking at, the quarterback battles or who's replacing, like you're going into the details of, hey, special teams, what's that going to look like?
Sure.
Love that. Hey, let's, when we talked last time, I think it was last Wednesday, we were previewing, we were anticipating, we were looking forward to NFL draft weekend, and it certainly was one of the most successful in the history of the FIU program. We had 6 total signed, so obviously 2 drafted, we had 4 sign as free agents.
Right.
That's the most in Conference USA, and I believe it ties the most in FIU history. Just to recap for everyone, obviously James taken in the 4th round, Stanley in the 7th by the Panthers, and then we have Anthony Jones, Napoleon Maxwell, Tierre Tart, and Ike Brown. Let's kind of recap what a wonderful weekend it was for the guys. James getting taken in the 4th round by the New York Jets. He comes into a good situation. Adam Gase and Joe Douglas, they're on the same page in what they want in that program or in that organization. There's a lot of new weapons on the outside, trying to put those puzzle pieces together, and James is going to come into a pretty good situation. Looks like a lot of fun. He certainly deserves the opportunity.
Yeah, no question, AJ. I think Adam got a chance to watch James in 2018 when he was still with the Dolphins, and got a chance to watch him practice, watch him work out. Certainly got a chance to get exposed to him in the games, while we were playing. And, Adam was one of the guys, and I will be honest with you, there was probably 10 to 12 of the franchises that really had a legitimate serious, interest in James. If he hadn't gone to the Jets in the fourth, he may have gone later on in the fourth or in the fifth. But I think a lot of teams really, truly, they appreciated his leadership. They love his arm. They think he can absolutely – there's not a throw on the field that he can't make.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I think all of that's good. He's a super smart kid. He's a football junkie. I mean, everybody in our organization knows that you hardly came into the building and you didn't find James somewhere in one of the meeting rooms, and he's got the video on and he's watching himself to how to improve himself, but he's also looking at next week's opponent and those kinds of things. So I think that part, and I think it's a great fit. He goes to the Jets, and the scheme offensively, what they do is the things that he does really, really well. So yeah. I think it's a good fit, and I'm very, very, very happy. I think everybody in our program's happy for James.
His mom posted the video from when he got drafted on YouTube. It's already got a couple thousand views, and it's funny because I realize so many times ESPN or whoever's showing the draft NFL Network, they'll show the moment they see their name on the board, or Commissioner Goodell says their name, but he gets the phone call from Joe Douglas, the GM, and his family's mobbing him. There are two moments. It's when he got the phone call and when he saw his name on the television.
Oh, I know.
He's trying to talk to Joe, and just mass chaos. A pretty awesome moment for James Morgan. Stanley gets taken in the 7th by the Carolina Panthers. So Matt Rule, of course, first-year head coach coming in from Baylor. Phil Snow is the defensive coordinator in Carolina. He's spent over 3 decades at the collegiate level. Has also had a couple of NFL stops. His most recent college stops, Baylor, Temple, UCLA, and Washington, to name a few of those. So Stanley's going to be in Coach Snow's system. What characteristics of his game do you think stood out as scouts looked at him and evaluated the type of player he can be defensively?
Yeah. You know what, AJ? I actually thought that he would go earlier than when he did go. I thought after the performance that he put on in the East-West All-Star game and getting a chance to showcase his talents there, I thought maybe he might be a mid to late 5th round draft choice. But, I'm just super excited and glad that he did get drafted. But here's the things that people are going to see in him. He's got the physical abilities to be one of those corners that can go against – the trend in college football and in the NFL is to have really, really tall wide receivers. The Julio Joneses, the 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" type of guys. And the corners back in the 1980s and in the 90s, there was a whole lot of kids that were like 5'9", 5'10 and a half, because the receivers were so much smaller and faster and quicker. But then the trend, it got bigger. So I think that, Stanley being a 6'2" guy, he's got super long arms. He's got great transition in and out. I think in his at the Indianapolis Combine, I think he ran like a 4.48, 4.49. So he certainly has the speed. And I guarantee you, one of the things that absolutely every team that really wrote him up and looked at him was they looked at how impressive that he was on special teams. He had to be one of the best gunners, and not only in Conference USA, but maybe in college football. I mean, he could get off because of his former position playing a wide receiver. He could get releases of people that were trying to hold him up because he knew how to break their arms down, get them on top, get them in a trail position, and then he could fly. And he made some unbelievable tackles on really good punt return type of people. So, doing that, playing on kickoff coverage and doing those things, and then obviously playing on the punt return, holding people up and giving guys like Maurice Alexander an opportunity to get a great head start. I think that those kind of things, because, if you're going to go to the National Football League and if you're not going to be a superstar, if you're not going to be a starter, if you can't play on special teams, you won't make the team because, they can only suit up 45 people. They got 53 guys on the roster. And so you better be able to go and contribute on special teams. And I think that what Stanley did in his career here, I think that really helped him.
Something Jonathan Cyprien, another defensive back out of FIU, certainly mentioned, be willing to, whatever facet it is, to contribute. And Stanley can certainly be a guy who can contribute defensively and in special teams for the Carolina Panthers. Our 4 guys who were taken as free agents, let's start on the offensive side of the football. Anthony Jones to Seattle. He's a guy who's shown what he's capable of. His story's been well chronicled. And Napoleon Maxwell, he's overcome not 1, but 2 ACL surgeries. Right. He signs with the Chicago Bears. He's shown, Coach, both breakaway speed and the ability as well to get it done in short yardage situations. How many times did we use him in goal line situations, and he punched it through to the end zone? A lot of good qualities out of these two guys that could make them competitive once camp gets started.
Yeah, no kidding, AJ. And obviously, the things that Anthony has had to overcome, while he's been here, he's been injured. And then obviously with the drive-by shooting and stuff, he could have potentially have been, 1,000, 1,200-yard rusher if he'd have been 100% healthy. And both of those seasons, his numbers would have significantly gone up. But I think the thing that people saw in both of them, and some of it was the special teams, but here's what people saw. They're not just a one phase type of a kid, because there's some kids that all they can do is touch the football and run with it. They can't blitz pickup. They can't pass protect. They don't run routes well. They don't catch the ball out of the backfield. And the trend and the movement in the National Football League is that if you're a running back, you've got to do all of those kinds of things. And you see every weekend, and the trend in a lot of the offenses is where they have the running backs misplaced within the personnel groupings. They put them out as a slot. They put them out as a wide receiver, and they need them to be able to run routes. And that's one of the good things that both of those guys have done. They've done that for us, so they have it on film, so coaches know that they're capable of doing it. And then they can do all of the things. I mean, Anthony's game against Miami, the big touchdown run late in the game that kind of solidified the fact that, took it to a 2-score lead. And then, Napoleon, he's had runs like that in the last 2 seasons. He's had great runs at ODU and some other games. And
Charlotte had a lot, I think 2 or 3 touchdowns at Charlotte,
Yeah, absolutely. And some big runs when we were backed up that we needed to change the field position. Even though maybe, it's a 3rd down and 10, 11, 12, and you're backed up inside your own 15-yard line, and all of a sudden with a trap or an inside power play, one of those two guys, pull off a 25 to 30-yard run. It's not a home run that goes for a touchdown, but it gets the drive alive and keeps the drive moving and changes the field position and gives you a chance. So I think a lot of the NFL teams like what those kids did.
That's a good recall. The 3rd and 19 Napoleon had against Miami comes to mind when he scrambled straight forward up the gut for 25 yards. I saw he tweeted, I think yesterday. You sent him a text. Speaking of Napoleon, the Chicago Bears. Yeah, to go off tangent for a second. You had a bear in your backyard or something. He said, "What are you hanging around here?"
Yeah, no kidding. I'm not hanging out at the zoo. I can promise you that. But I was talking to Napoleon and texting him back and forth, and told him how proud I was he was going to the Chicago Bears, and obviously Chuck Pagano's a longtime friend. He was 11-year assistant coach with me at Miami and Cleveland and North Carolina. And, he's the defensive coordinator there. And I said, I'll introduce you so that you'll have somebody there in the building that can be a friend to you and kind of give you some advice and guidance. And I told him, I said, and then all of a sudden later on that afternoon, we've got a 350-pound black bear that's walking down the street, going between the houses. He's in the backyard, going around a pond looking. I guess he's looking for fish, and he'd been going through the groceries. And so I texted Napoleon. I said, "Hey, I think one of your teammates was down here looking for you." You
didn't wander, Chloe. You kept your distance, I hope.
Yeah, no kid, yeah. I don't think I can outrun a bear anymore.
Yeah. Careful now.
It's like that old-fashioned joke. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just got to outrun one other person.
Yep. Make sure someone else is a little bit closer you can outrun.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Coach, we let's alternate to the defensive side here. Tierre Tart going to Tennessee. We were in their practice facility a couple of years ago. Saw Johnny Smith up there. Have a good relationship with their staff. I know you do. Tierre's a guy could still very well be coming into his own as a football player. Has plenty of potential moving forward. And then Ike Brown to the Bills. I don't know if there was another player on our team that had a faster 40. He's one of the quickest guys. He brings speed to that organization. So what your evaluation of those two guys as they move forward?
AJ, I think on both of those guys, Tierre is one of those guys that this is a story that pretty much is the same for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Junior college football players, when they make a transition from a junior college, it's very, very difficult, like in year one, because they don't have any background of your scheme, the expectations, the work ethic, and those kinds of things. And so certainly, in Tierre's junior year, I would say he was somewhat inconsistent. I mean, he played some games. He did some good things. He was part of the rotation, and you could see potentially what he could do, But when a junior college player does in January and be a part of the first spring practice, when they come and the first time they put on a helmet and go to practices in training camp in August, almost that first year is just almost a complete learning cycle. In year 2 now, he became an unbelievable penetrator and created a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. He created a lot of sacks and tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And then one of the things, and this was kind of a common theme with a lot of the kids that signed, he did get a chance to play in an all-star game. He got a chance to go to the National Football League Players Association in the Rose Bowl. And when he went out there, he did the things in that all-star game against other Power 5 guys and all those kinds of things. He made plays. And that's kind of what scouts are looking for. Can you make plays? Can you be somebody, that can do those kinds of things? And so I think that he earned the opportunity to get a chance to be a free agent. Ike, you already talked about it. I mean, he's one of the fastest kids on our entire team. I mean, this is a kid that runs in the low 4.4s. He can be a lockdown corner where he can run with just about anybody. He plays on special teams like Stanley does. He does a great job holding up the other team's gunners, and he has dramatically improved. He's gotten bigger and stronger over the last 2 years. And, 3 years ago, my first year here, he was probably like 168 pounds or something. And I don't know exactly what he weighed, here before the draft, but I'm going to guess he was probably somewhere close to like 190, in the low 190s and stuff. And if you can run that and you're a 6'1", 6'2" corner, you'll get a chance to go to camp.
I liked Thier's humility moving forward. I think he said the other day, I thought I knew a lot when I came to FIU. Turns out I didn't know that much. Like I had a lot to learn, and that's
right.
That's a mindset you have to have moving forward. How much can I learn? How much can I get better? We talked about it last Wednesday, and for so many schools, especially us and these guys like Maurice Alexander, Sage Lewis, not having that pro day, that's tough. That hurts. And the opportunity to prove to scouts and coaches, look, I'm healthy and I'm ready to go. Hopefully those two and guys like Austin Maloney as well get their opportunity. Sure. Maloney had one heck of a bowl game and one of the best bowl games of anyone, which is flying by defensive backs. So hopefully they'll get an opportunity here moving forward. There's still guys being signed, but get the feeling they're still pushing themselves to get an opportunity.
And here's one of the things, AJ, that I've told those guys is, and I can tell you from being with the Cowboys and the Browns and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's a lot of kids who got signed, as a free agent, and maybe even a few that got drafted. Well, the first time they can get a chance to go to a mini camp, they better play really, really good or they're going to get cut. And there'll be a little bit of a recycle at some point during the course of the summer where teams that are going to take 90 players to training camp, and they may actually, bring some guys in. Maybe a kid, sadly and unfortunately, maybe they flunk a physical. Maybe they come in and they got a bad knee. They've got some issues with necks, or they've got, they've had concussions, and a lot of time, and the NFL team says, you know what, we're not going to take that kid to camp, and we're going to let these 3, 4, 5 guys go. Well, 3 or 4, 5 guys times 32 teams means they're going to be looking for another 150 players. So I've kind of tried to encourage, keep training, keep working, and you never know when somebody's going to pick up that phone and give you that chance to come into one of the franchise teams. And once you get that exposure and you get that chance, you got to really do a great job and make it very difficult for them to let you go.
All three of those guys were remarkably consistent in their time here. Maurice showed his explosiveness, especially in special teams, but also as a wideout. Sage led the conference in tackles, was the defensive player of the year. And obviously Austin Maloney's yards per catch is one of the best in college football and culminated his career with a great bowl game. So hopefully those three guys get a chance moving forward here soon. Would not be surprised if that happens. Coach, just a couple things here as we start to wrap up, and two interesting angles I want to pick your brain about. We've talked about what's important in preparing the lead up to the draft, preparation. Now guys are going to be in camp, hopefully sooner rather than later. Sure. And we've referenced your prior NFL experience, obviously. What do you remember about guys that were taken as free agents that left an impression on you in camp? What characteristics define those players that made them stand out, those undrafted free agents? Were you, as whether as a defensive coordinator for the Cowboys or head coach at Cleveland, you're like, this guy could help us?
Yeah, one of the most important things, AJ, is how fast and can you learn? I mean, they are going to throw a ton of things on kids. If they have a 1-week mini camp for rookies, sometime maybe in the mid of June, and they bring all the rookies in, how quick can he learn? Because if you can't learn and you're going to run the risk that you're going to make mental errors and you're going to bust assignments, they're going to get rid of you. I mean, you're going to be gone. And then the second thing is they love looking for people that are athletic. They have great passion. They're hungry. They love football. They're junkies. They take good notes. When they go to practice, I mean, they're listening, they're watching, they're looking at the veteran guys and seeing, all the things that they are doing, and they're trying to replicate those kinds of things and try to showcase their talent. If you go there and you're making mental mistakes, if you're a wide receiver and you're dropping one out of every 4 balls that gets thrown to you, you're going to be gone. And, because it is a business from that standpoint, and the coaches are going to be bringing people in, and no coach wants a kid to flunk and to fail and to not do well, but the reality of it is they're taking 90 guys to camp, and they're only going to keep basically about half of those guys on the full-time roster, and then they'll keep the practice squad players, so they may end up keeping 62 of those 90 players. And but those are the things that you give kids advice about, making sure they take good notes, they learn, they listen, they ask questions, and then make sure that when you go on the field, you're giving great effort on everything, because they're not going to let you loaf and let you go half-speed. That's not going to happen.
No, that will not fly when you're trying to make an impression at the NFL level. Last thing here, Coach, and it's interesting to me. You've had both sides of the spectrum here. All right, draft day and signing day. All right. I mean, you've been a GM, you've been an advisor in Tampa Bay, you've been a defensive coordinator, head coach. You've had a lot of roles in the NFL. Right. Of course, obviously a head coach in college football. So, draft day, the lead up to that, you're analyzing, you're studying, you're trying to make the right decision, versus signing day when you're doing all of that, but also hoping that someone chooses you in your program. So I'm pretty similar vibes of each, or you prefer one to the other? Well, they both seem to bring a lot of pressure with it, I suppose. Maybe signing day a little bit more. I don't know. Tell me your feel.
Yeah, AJ, the pressure on the draft, I mean, because obviously over the last dozen or more years, you only get 7 picks. And, and obviously the layers, you want impactful players, hopefully on the first 4 rounds, maybe in rounds 5, 6, and 7. You might be taking a little bit of chance on some of those players that you're looking for people when you get to the second half of the draft in rounds 5, 6, and 7, you're looking for traits. Yeah. Because there's not going to be a complete player. There's not going to be the perfect player, because they were already gone in the first 4 rounds. But what you're looking for is somebody that you say, you know what, if we give him a chance, he could be an unbelievable special teams player, or he brings great speed and explosiveness from an offensive standpoint. And we think maybe if we do a great job as a coaching staff, we can train him to become an impactful player, maybe on special teams. He can cover punts, he can cover kickoffs. So, those last 3 rounds, you're looking for guys that have got individual types of traits. And in the perfect world, AJ, to be honest with you, you're looking at the things that they don't have that's good, okay, are they fixable? Or is it something that maybe a kid goes to the combine and maybe he does the bench press, the 225-pound bench press, and maybe he's a defensive back, he does 6. Well, you say, you know what, we got a great strength and conditioning program here. We got great nutrition. We're going to feed him. And if we train this kid, he can get back into the 14, 15, 20, low 20s on the bench press. Is that fixable? If a guy if he's a defensive back and he runs a 4.9, that isn't fixable. He's going to run 4.9. So it doesn't matter all the other traits that he might have that's good. He just doesn't have the one trait that really matters. And I know that even, we have a lot of conversations with our high school, with our college staff, but we did with the NFL. I mean, there's an unbelievable amount of kids that go to the NFL combine and they run a 4.28, a 4.33, a 4.37. I mean, they just blow it away.
Yeah.
But they can't catch a ball, and they go through those drills, and you see a kid that, they throw individual, those drills where somebody from the left's throwing and the right, and they're running down the line, and maybe they get 10 balls thrown to them, and they only catch 5 of them. It doesn't matter if you run 4.2, but if you're going to drop every other ball,
sure,
they're not going to. People are not going to want those guys. So there's things that's interesting about that, and the recruiting part. It is, you hope that they love you. They hope that they want to be a part of your program, and until they sign that scholarship paper, I mean, you're holding your breath the whole time.
Does anyone come to mind when you think about success stories that you had in Cleveland, Dallas, or Tampa, that you saw some intangibles in them, or you saw some good traits and took them in a late round pick or undrafted free agent and ended up being a big part of your organization? Does anyone come to mind off the bat?
There was a lot of kids. I'll be honest with you, like Darren Woodson, for an example, in Dallas.
Sure.
When they looked at him in college, he was playing outside linebacker. And he was a 6'2 and a quarter, maybe a 215-pound outside linebacker at Arizona State. And but he was explosive. I mean, he was physical. He could change directions, and he ran at that speed, at that weight and stuff. I think when we went and worked him out, I think Dave Campbell, our defensive backfield coach, went and worked him out, and I think he ran like a 4.39. I mean, he could just fly.
Wow.
And but he had never played in the secondary. So his very first year as a rookie for us, he played on every special team, and he was phenomenal. And he was being groomed to play as a safety. And he was talented enough that we actually worked him a little bit as a corner in some of the training, because he could actually run with the wide receivers, and he could press them and he could run. But he went on to become an unbelievable NFL Pro Bowl player. He was a great safety, and there wasn't anybody that he couldn't cover. And that was one of the great things about him. He could cover tight ends, he could cover slot wide receivers, he could cover backs. If they tried to misplace and take a tailback and put them in a slot position, I mean, he could shut them down. So that was really kind of a one that you could say that was something like that. Another one that kind of went was Robert Quinn at North Carolina.
Yeah,
we recruited the daylights out of him, and we had no idea whether we were going to get him or not. And the night before, we were trying to call him and find out, okay, how are you going to choose? You're going to choose Clemson, you're going to choose South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I mean, he had tons and tons of offers. And he called the next morning. He says, "Hey, Coach," he said, "I'm going to sign these papers. I'm going to come to North Carolina." And it was like, oh, my God, you just found a pot of gold, And he's a kid that had a great career in college and went on to be the NFL Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years ago. I think he had 21 sacks in one season. So you get lucky things happen in both levels.
There's certainly a lot of pressure that goes with each, but certainly very rewarding getting guys that you end up building great relationships with and culminating in weekends like this past weekend. Congratulations again, Coach. I think you're approaching 160 players who have been taken in the draft. You're creeping up to 200 here soon, but congratulations on that. Hey, what's on the agenda for you tomorrow? What's going on Wednesday for you? What's up next?
Oh Lord, let's see what is on tomorrow. I know that we've got meetings with the players. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And we're doing a follow-up meeting a little bit, to be honest with you, AJ. Conference USA with Merton Hanks, they're starting to narrow this down, okay? Dealing with all the other conferences, when are we going to be able to come back? Now that states are starting to open up, things are going and they're moving faster than the first 6 weeks. It was like nobody was moving, and nobody could make any decisions. But now the states are opening up. Schools are going to start reassessing. Do we want to bring kids, not just athletes, but students? Do we want to bring students back on campus? And when does that happen? And can we start bringing the athletes back in, especially the fall athletes? Can we bring them in June, July to start training and running and lifting? And so we're having lots of meetings. I know that Pete Garcia, the athletic director, he's meeting with all the athletic directors and all the other 14 schools in Conference USA, and they're talking to every one of the other conferences. Every time we get on the phone with Merton, he'll reference, he just got off the phone with somebody at the Pac-12 or somebody in the SEC, and they're trying, and this, to be honest with you, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to come up with, okay, what is training camps going to look like? Is it going to be 4 weeks? Is it going to be 6 weeks? And so everybody is submitting to the NCAA as a conference. This is what we would like to have. And then the NCAA is going to take, and they'll cherry pick from every single one of the conferences. They like, okay, I like what week 1, I like what the Big Ten is saying they think that week 1 should look like. They like what Conference USA has got for week 3 and the Big 12 for week 4 and cherry pick those. And so we're hoping that, I don't know that this is going to happen, but I'm hoping that in the next week to 10 days to 2 weeks that we get some kind of an answer as to what we can start telling the players, okay, we're going to start bringing you back on campus in 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it is. So those are the main things that go on almost all week long.
And the conversations about, making up for those spring practices as well and getting that fair equity for every program.
AJ, and I'm not sure that that's even going to be part of the equation, to be honest with you.
Really?
And here's one of the things, and this sounds kind of crazy, and it's like I can't believe that this is even something that somebody's talking about, but there's going to be a difference between when the states open up and when they start doing things. And they actually have made some comments, and I'm not saying that this is 100%, I'm not saying that this is going to be the reality of it, but they're saying that, let's say that 80% of the schools can start on this date and 20% of the schools can't start till 3 weeks later. They just get 3 weeks less than everybody else. I don't think that there's going to be equity in all of the things for all of the different states, because all the states have different things going on in their state, hot spots, and God forbid that we go and have some kind of a relapse as they start opening these states, and all of a sudden go up. More people have, more people have illnesses and stuff, and then all of a sudden we had to roll it back, and we got to go back to where we were like 5 weeks ago. That would be horrible.
Well, I know I'm constantly refreshing ESPN.com to see what have the latest conversations been. What is the NFL, or what is the MLB and the NBA? What are they going to do? But also we're also seeing all around the country gradual reopens in different places. So God willing, there's no relapse, as you said, and small steps can continue to be made moving forward. And there'll be a little more certainty with everything as we hopefully prepare for a fall season, which will help return us to back to normal a little bit. Coach, enjoy these. We'll probably do this again later this week. Enjoy your week. Until then, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us in our Zoom once more. I didn't know what Zoom was before all this, Coach. I had no I guess it was FaceTime. Everybody FaceTime. I had no idea what Zoom was. Should have bought stock.
Isn't that the truth?
I should have bought some stock. Would have made some money. Yeah. All right, Coach. Enjoy yourself. Stay away from the Bears. All right. Do not approach the bear. Congratulations on a good week, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for being there, and everybody that listened tonight. I'm very grateful that you were a part of it.
All right. Pause up, everyone. We'll see you soon.